Alrighty, okay, let's get straight into it. Even after a Kansas City Chiefs Monday Night Football game loss, we're still here to bring you guys the news. Alright, the first matchup that we're going to dive into was the biggest blowout of the week, but we're still going to talk about it. First off, we got the Stallions at 184 to the Snow Bunnies, measly 133. Although it is not measly, that is a great score that would have beaten, if I am correct, 1, 2, and 3 other teams this week if they would have been playing anyone else but the Stallions. But we're going to get straight into it. We're going to start with the winning side first. We got Matt Stafford, solid 30-point win. 30-point appearance. Patrick Mahomes, 30-point appearance. Javonte Williams, what a pickup for only, $7 million, 25 points. Laporta showed out, 15 points. We had a mediocre week for Lad and Xavier. 9 and 5 is not great, but Jamar Chase, what a week. We didn't even know Jake Browning could still throw the ball. Kyron Williams, standout performance even with a few fumbles. And then Derrick Henry, I'm pretty sure the Ravens do not know how to hand the ball off to him. All right, moving on. Also with a notable bad performance from Harrison and the Minnesota defense, not great. Moving on to the Lions side of the ball. We might as well rename the Snow Bunnies the Lions, am I right? Jared Goff, solid quarterback week. Now Jameer and David, that is some pretty solid running back performance right there. Emeka Egbuka, might see some trade offers coming in for him because he is looking hot. Amon-Ra St. Brown, once again, average week. Jameson Williams, Khalil Shakir, and Hunter Henry, not great. That is not great. That contributed to this, as well as Justin Herbert, who is most likely not going to have a good year after this because of a few tackle injuries, as well as Cameron Dicker, pretty solid week, but the Detroit defense did put up some numbers for this Snow Bunny team right here. Notable, I would look into finding a new piece potentially for Justin Herbert, as he is not going to be doing too well after this, but those are options for everyone. Moving on to the Gators and Polar Bears. Close matchup. Now, don't forget, everyone, if you are at home and it comes down to a 5-point loss, if you lose by 4 points or less, you actually win. Because in the bylaws, if you are at home, you automatically get 5 points. Now, this was close, but we didn't have to call that into effect because the Polar Bears ended up taking it out 114 to 112 over the Gators. We're going to talk about the winners once again first. Wow, I did not know that Daniel Jones only had 18 points. That's not great, but it's okay. A-Shane, that's pretty good for running back. We want to stick around 12 to 13 points. Jonathan Taylor, that replaced the quarterback play for Daniel Jones. We could just switch those two and call it a wash. Okay. Yikes. We're just going to do a big circle here. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Brian Thomas Jr., Terry McBride, Kenneth Walker III all had extremely subpar weeks. That is not great. I know that this wide receiver room has been decimated by injuries, but that might be something that the Polar Bears want to think about, work out with. Now, Drake May, also not a great week, but they did get the win. I mean, it was a weird game all around. San Francisco and Tyler Loop, pretty mid performances, nothing great. Now, we're going to get to something right here that should put the league on notice and something that everyone needs to pay attention to. Now, don't forget, everyone, that the Gators and Polar Bears here, there was a 2-point difference. Jalen Hurts had a pretty decent week. Breece Hall and Christian McCaffrey, beautiful weeks. I'm going to make that stroke a little bit better. Beautiful weeks. A.J. Brown is not the receiving threat for the Eagles. They do not throw the ball. Nico Collins had a great week, and Justin Jefferson had a great week. Those are really good receivers numbers. Brock Bowers was hurt. We're going to talk about that in a second. TJ Hawkinson, pretty bad week as a flex, but that was the best option that they had. And Bo Nix obviously had a good week, with Jake Bates having a pretty mediocre week. Now we're going to get to the big point of, what should we say? Big point of emphasis here. If, let's say, Brock Bowers, who was hurt before the week, let's say that whoever was in his place scored 2 points. Let's just put a 2 right here. A 2. Then, let's just say they picked up the worst defense in the league this week. They scored 2 points as well. That would put An extra 2 points on the board, and this score would actually be 116 to 114, which would result in a Gators win. We have got to set our lineups, and we have to pay attention because this could affect seeding and the playoffs and the Super Bowl. The Gators should have won this week. They had the victory in their hands, but they didn't have 2 players starting. I, as the commissioner, sorry about my microphone. I, as the commissioner, went in and adjusted lineups, and it didn't do anything because the Gators didn't have enough players. We have to stay aware of what is happening on our lineups, all right? We got to focus in and lock up. Should have been a win for the Gators, but was negated by neglect. All right, moving on. Not as close, but still close. Both teams scored a reputable amount of points. 116 to 148 is pretty good. We're obviously going to talk about the Wolves first because they won. We got Josh Allen, not the best week for him, but obviously solid. James Cook, not great. You want a trade request, Wolves? Because, you know, the Stallions could send one over or something like that. Genty, mediocre week, not great. Puka, pretty good week as a wide receiver. Jackson Smith and Jigba, showing up some wide receiver 1 potential. And Garrett Wilson, obviously just showing up consistent every week. Dalton Kincaid had a great week as a tight end. You'd want to expect about 5 points as a tight end, but Dalton obviously had 10. Omarion Hampton, tough loss for the Wolves. IR, 4 weeks at minimum. Jackson Dart, great week. He also is on the injury report, but most likely will not stay there. Brandon Aubrey, once again, my tablet is messed up. I'm just going to give it a second here. Brandon Aubrey had a great week, 7 points. But let's talk about that Houston defense up against that awful Baltimore offense. 17 points is something that we want to talk about for sure. All right, on the Platypi side, this is the most plagued team in the league. Jaden Daniels, solid 19 points. Saquon Barkley, surprisingly 14 points is actually pretty good for him this year. Cam Scatterboo, right about where he's supposed to be. We wanted to be at about 10, and he was just 0.6 away. Zay has given literally 7 every single week this year. 7 except for 1 week where he had 21 and another one he had 0. So, yeah. Quentin Johnston, also, I don't know how the Chargers are going to be after this week. Devontae Smith, once again, the Eagles do not throw the ball. Just question the ball around. Isaiah Likely might not be where he needs to be yet to be put on fantasy. He's just not there yet with the Ravens. Marvin Harrison had a pretty good week, and Dak had an amazing week. Will Reichert should have had another 3 points, but it was some fluky mistake in London. And the Buffalo defense had a nice solid 6 points. Overall, pretty good week. Just happened to go against the juggernaut of the league. But you know, that happens. The Stallions, no, they lost 2 weeks in a row to that team. We're going to head over to the standings really quick. First of all, big news. The Wolves have pulled away and are now 5-0 in the league. That is crazy. Stallions holding on the middle, and the Platypi are 1-4. We got a pretty reputable race right here, what we thought was going to happen. Now, let's move on to the NFC. We have a 3-way tie for first place that falls over to points. Holy cow! And that is extremely close point scored. I did not even realize that. The NFC is wide open. But one other thing. Don't forget that if the Gators had set their lineup, the Gators would actually be number 1. Then it would be Snow Bunnies. And then it would be Polar Bears. Okay? We cannot forget to set our lineups because that could have changed the entire outlook of the week. Moving on to the week to come. I keep doing that. I'm so sorry. First matchup that we're going to be talking about. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Just give me 1 second to pull this back up. Polar Bear Stallions. We're going to have a really close week this week, 133 to 119. Players to watch out for Xavier. He looks like he might be not performing at the level that he needs to. Overall, we're going to have some really good matchups here. We got a lot of high-scoring games, it looks like, for the Stallions. For the Polar Bears, it looks like we have a bunch of high scoring as well. The only one that I would watch out for is... No, this is going to be a great week for the Polar Bears. They should be able to put up some fantastic numbers. Moving on. An even closer week. 110 to 109 is the projected total. And the Gators have 3 people off of their starting list. If the Gators can fill this out, this should be an easy lock. They're supposed to win, and they have 3 people not playing. Now, Preston, I'm specifically talking to you right now. You have got to replace 2 of your wide receivers and your tight end, okay? Otherwise, you will lose, I promise, okay? You have to set that. You are supposed to win, and you don't even have them in. Now, Brevin, I don't really know what you're going to do here. If the Lions go off, sorry, snow bunnies. If the Lions go off against the Chiefs, you're going to be just fine. But if they struggle in that with the Chiefs defense, that could be a different story. I would think about maybe switching Justin Herbert if you have someone else to replace him. Moving over to Wolves, Platypi, we got a divisional round matchup. Once again, because of that Omar and Hampton injury, the Wolves need to look into replacing that spot. Platypi, I mean, your team is really good. It's just so close. I would look at Isaiah Likely. I don't think he's at where you need him to be yet, especially on the Baltimore offense, who is basically tanking at this point. I'd probably take a look at that. Wolves are just an extremely dominant team. I don't really know what to say about them. Also, Will Reichert probably might need to be something you need to listen to. All right, everyone. Please set up your lineups. We had our first week where if someone had actually set up their lineups, we would have had a different outcome. That literally could affect the Super Bowl winner. Please set up your lineups. I can only do so much as the commissioner. I can just move people, but if there's not an extra tight end, I can't start someone that's not available. Just please set your lineups, and let's have a great week 6, all right? Wolves stay chugging along, Platypi, make up some losses, and the NFC, just figure out who's going to win, because y'all are crazy over there at a 2-3 tie.